I can't tell you the shock and the horror that all of us felt when we saw those flames coming out there. It was, oh my God, they're killing themselves.
A fiery end to the cult standoff near Waco and what the FBI is calling a mass suicide, saying followers of self-proclaimed Messiah David Koresh set an inferno engulfing their cult compound as the feds began moving in. We'll go live to the scene, get reaction from Waco to Washington, and look into just how this could happen with team coverage of the Texas tragedy straight ahead.
And now, Kaity, Tong, Jack Cafferty, Jerry Gerard with sports, and Bob Harris with the weather. The Emmy Award-winning Channel 11 News at 10.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marvin Scott, sitting in for Jack Cafferty tonight. The Waco standoff ends with what is believed to be a mass suicide.
The final chapter in the 51-day standoff between the federal government and cult leader David Koresh is one that was written in flames, a blazing end to the long and bitter siege. The FBI saying that members of the Branch Davidian cult set their compound on fire as agents closed in on them, choosing to give their lives to Koresh in a blazing inferno rather than surrender to the feds. Charles Ewe standing by live near Waco with the latest on the tragic end to this standoff. Charles?
The suspected death toll here in Waco stands at 87 at this hour, including cult leader David Koresh. Right now, forensics teams are conducting the grisly task of identifying the dead. It began at dawn when armored vehicles started ripping holes in the compound and pouring in tear gas in hopes of getting the cult members to surrender. For 6 hours, cult leader David Koresh and 94 followers refused to surrender and fired on FBI agents who did not fire back. Then, just after noon, FBI sniper teams claimed that they saw 2 cultists setting fire to the buildings. Within minutes, the wood frame stronghold was an inferno. Agents said that Koresh ordered a mass suicide.
It was not our intention that this compound be burned down. I can't tell you the shock and the horror that all of us felt when we saw those flames coming out there. It was, oh my God, they're killing themselves. We did not want that to occur.
9 people managed to get out, including a 16-year-old girl, but 4 survivors sustained broken bones and burns and are being treated at hospitals in Dallas and San Antonio. Fire units were kept away from the compound for almost an hour. By the time they were rushed in to douse the flames, there was not much left. In Washington, Attorney General Janet Reno took full responsibility for the raid.
I approved the plan and I'm responsible for it.
Reno added President Clinton was informed about the assault, but not its details. And she said had authorities believed that a mass suicide was likely, they would not have approved the plan.
It certainly was something that we considered because this was carefully thought out and all the risks were weighed. As I indicate, these are the hardest decisions to make.
Authorities say Koresh, who claimed to be Jesus and said he could end the world, is probably among the dead, but there has been no confirmation his remains have been identified. There will be a full Senate investigation of the standoff and its fiery end.
I think we will have to await the events to cool off, both figuratively and literally, to take a look at it.
It's expected to be several months before that investigation gets underway. And it's expected to be several days before forensics teams complete the grisly task of identifying the dead. But that may be hard to do because there is speculation here that the fire may have consumed many bodies, so we may never really know how many people were inside. This is Charles Ewe reporting live from Waco.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. We'll be going back to Charles a little later on in this broadcast. President Clinton voiced regret over the heavy loss of life, saying his thoughts and prayers are with the families of David Koresh's victims. The president signed off on that plan yesterday, but he had nothing to do with the details.
They made the tactical decisions. That was their judgment, the FBI.
Given the fact that federal officials had 51 days to come up with a plan to successfully end the standoff, there's some concern that what happened in Waco could be a source of deep political embarrassment for the president. The White House tried to distance Mr. Clinton from the actual operation, but as president, it was he who gave the go.
Certainly he is responsible, but it's the Attorney General and the FBI have operational control over this, but clearly he was informed.
Attorney General Reno said she agonized over the decision to approve the plan, but never expected it to end the way it did.
These are the hardest decisions in the world to make. My heart goes out to the families of the agents killed and those injured, as well as to those children and the families of those who perished in the compound today. We must all reflect on how we as a society can in the future prevent such a senseless, horrible, tragic loss of human life.
FBI Director William Sessions saying tonight there was every indication the cult would not commit suicide.
We had been assured both from our own evaluations of David Koresh, from the psychologist, from the psycholinguist, from a psychiatrist, from his writings, from his assertion himself repeatedly that he did not intend to commit suicide.
Some political fallout can be expected. Already there are calls from Congress for an investigation.
Moment, I think it is impossible to evaluate the wisdom of what the FBI did. And I think we will have to await the events to cool off, both figuratively and literally, to take a look at it. But I think the entire Waco incident is something which the Judiciary Committee ought to be holding hearings on.
David Koresh's mother says it's terrible the way the situation was handled, and his lawyer contends that the federal agents drove cult followers to violence simply by pumping that tear gas into the compound. Kaity.
And with nearly 100 followers dying in today's fire, nearly 100 people following David Koresh into a fiery grave, the question many are asking today is why? What kind of power could Koresh have to convince so many people to commit mass suicide if indeed that's what happened? As Stephanie Shelton reports from Waco to Jonestown, the reasons are often the same.
In the 15 years since the more than 900 followers of Jim Jones drank poisoned Kool-Aid in a voluntary mass suicide, there have been almost a dozen cult-induced tragedies involving violence to both adults and children. The pattern exhibited by the followers of David Koresh, who sacrificed even their children to his fiery demands, is all too familiar to cult experts.
This group does epitomize a certain type of group, and that is a Bible-based group that has an end times philosophy, sometimes known as a millennial concept, and that these are people who are willing to die for their cause.
David Jewell's ex-wife was in the Waco compound when it exploded in cult-set flames.
She was taught to commit suicide, actually. For instance, putting the gun inside your mouth as opposed to beside your head, because there was a chance you might survive if you took a shot in the side of the head.
What brings people to the situation where somebody can manipulate them like this?
There are two types of people in this group, and that would be those who went there because they wanted a charismatic religious experience. Their strong belief in the Bible is then taken advantage of by Koresh. Then you have the other type of people who are looking for some sort of special experience and are just vulnerable people.
Within 20 minutes of being on the telephone with him, he had found a way to make me question everything I had ever believed in.
The cult members died by immolation, almost a biblical fire and brimstone end that experts like Arnold Markowitz say might have been triggered by almost any overt FBI action. But Markowitz says the FBI might have made a tactical error early in the siege.
To get involved in discussing the Bible or discuss the Bible on his terms.
Experts say we keep making the same mistakes with these cults, not realizing how dangerous and destructive they are. Arnold Markowitz says there are thousands of groups like the Branch Davidians around, and we must somehow intervene before they become as isolated and paranoid and as manipulated as the followers of David Koresh. Stephanie Shelton, Channel 11 News at 10.
And we'll have more of our coverage of the tragedy in Texas a little later with a live update on the situation there. Marvin.
In other news, a Westchester babysitter charged with killing an infant in her care is home with her family tonight, free on bail. As Rosemary Gomez tells us, two other high-profile Westchester cases were apparently the key to getting Anne Franklin's bail significantly reduced.
The Franklin family has retained my services.
25-year-old Anne Franklin seemed visibly shaken as she stood in court. The nanny accused of murder was released on $250,000 bail after her parents put up their home and everything else they own.
The government really does not know what happened here and is engaging in speculation and pure conjecture.
Bail was originally set at $500,000, but the judge cut it in half after Franklin's attorney argued that was the amount in two other notorious Westchester cases, convicted fatal attraction killer Carolyn Warmis, and Swiss nanny Olivia Riener, who was later acquitted in the fire death of a baby left in her care.
Her passport was found in plain view.
Prosecutors claim they have evidence Franklin planned to flee the country for Ireland on an Aer Lingus flight. Franklin was ordered to surrender her passport and wear an electronic bracelet, in addition to the $250,000 bail.
We have lost a darling baby, a beautiful child, and he had her in it. She was taking care of him. What did she do to him?
The babysitter is accused of murdering 10-month-old Kieran Dunn, who died of massive trauma to the head. The baby's parents were too upset to appear in court. His two grandmothers spoke on their behalf.
They're coping as best as they can, but they are devastated. And we are here. There are four of us.
The four of us.
For Kieran.
She loved him. She would never, ever, ever hurt him. Never.
But former employers of the Westchester nanny came out in her corner, including Irish Olympic athlete Eamon Coughlin, who hired Franklin to care for his two children.
But from my knowledge of Anne Franklin and the way she babysat for our children for a number of years, I could not ever think that she would be guilty of such a tragedy.
Franklin is due back in court on June 3rd, and while her attorney is ruling out the possibility of a plea bargain at this point, he did say he plans to bring in some of the parents she worked for as character witnesses once the case goes to trial. In White Plains, I'm Rosemary Gomez for the Channel 11 News at 10.
Two off-duty police officers nabbed a pair of Brooklyn men minutes after they allegedly gunned down a Queens florist. 21-year-old Anthony Stater and 22-year-old Edwin Caicedo had charged with killing 62-year-old Joseph DeSantis. Police say DeSantis was leaving his Middle Village florist shop with his wife and the weekend's earnings when the two men held him up. In the struggle, DeSantis was shot while his wife watched in horror. Two off-duty cops, Officer Diane Fatagay and Officer Gary Mayo, heard the commotion. They chased the men and they caught up with them in an alley.
And still coming up on the News at 10, more problems at the New York Post. The Pressmen's Union and management go head-to-head trying to prevent another crippling job action. Plus, police make an arrest in that horrible nursing home shooting yesterday in Queens. We'll have a full report coming up.
A day of somber remembrance in Poland, observing the 50th anniversary of the Warsaw Uprising. And the man who made that amazing $1 million shot had better wait a while before he spends any of that money. A battle is brewing over whether he's qualified to get the money. Coming up.
If this is how you think of Volvos, we may have the car to change your thinking. The Volvo 850 GLT. Driving a Volvo usually inspires a certain sense of safety. Well, now we offer an additional sensation. The Volvo 850 GLT.
It was Anne Marie's dad who gave Clark County its first woman veterinarian, because early on he began creating a long-term investment plan with Kemper Mutual Funds. For college, vet school, and today, a new Colt for Clark County and for her dad.
We're building tomorrows today.
Kemper Mutual Funds. Ask your financial advisor or call this number.
MCI's Friends Around the World has been the lowest priced international call you can make to any one number to over 200 places around the world. Now MCI announces an extra 20% savings to two numbers. They'll be the lowest priced international calls you can make. Call MCI. Over the years, using us to call outside the country could save you hundreds upon hundreds of dollars.
This is a 93 Chevy Lumina sedan. It comes with a V6, automatic, air, AM/FM stereo, power locks,
Boys, let's go. We gotta pick up your teammates.
and real room for 6. All just $219 a month and $925 down.
In the trunk. Oh, where's the door?
And Lumina is $1,900 less than a comparably equipped Ford Taurus. Chevy Lumina, just $219 a month. Expect more for your family at your local Chevrolet GO dealer.
Authorities have confirmed a plane carrying the governor of South Dakota crashed today in Iowa, killing everyone on board. South Dakota Governor George Michelson's press secretary confirmed the governor was on that plane with 7 other people, all of whose bodies have been recovered. The FAA says the twin-engine jet was headed for an emergency landing at the Dubuque, Iowa airport when it struck a barn and silo outside the city. There was heavy rain at the time, but the FAA has not determined if weather was a factor in this crash. The governor, a Republican, was governor of South Dakota since 1986.
Police have come up with a sketch of a man they want to question in connection with last week's deaths of Prince Teddy Keter and his wife. As we first told you last Wednesday, a man who looked like this entered the Park Avenue building with another man shortly after the prince and princess were last seen alive the previous Friday. His name believed to be Frank, perhaps an antique dealer known to the prince. He's 6'2", about 40, balding with a beard, light brown eyes, light brown hair. He and another man seen leaving the prince's apartment with shopping bags containing some items which showed up the next day at a pawn shop. Police still don't know exactly how the couple died. They're still exploring many theories, including the possibility of murder-suicide. The princess is said to have been fed up with her prince's sexual exploits. And police are asking anyone with any information for the location of the man in the sketch or anything about the deaths to call them at this special hotline number, area 212-598-0071. On Long Island, a gas station attendant is under arrest tonight, charged with trying to sexually assault a woman. Police say a Valley Stream woman and her young child pulled into the station in Freeport last night and went into the office to pay for gas. They say that after asking her to perform a sexual act, the attendant, identified by police as Mustafa Sitlak, grabbed her and locked the door when she refused. A detective says the woman grabbed a bottle and knocked the attendant to the floor and then ran. Sitlak was later arrested at the hospital where he sought treatment.
In upstate New York, 5 teenage boys have been charged with raping a 13-year-old girl at knife point. North Greenbush police say the boys, 3 16-year-olds, 1 15-year-old, and 1 14-year-old, will be charged with felony rape and sodomy. The district attorney says she intends, at least for now, to prosecute all 5 boys as adults. According to police, the boys held a penknife to the girl's throat during the attack, and police say the girl knew 2 of the boys. Well, the man who allegedly turned a Queens nursing home into a killing ground is in police custody tonight. And while some may call the shooting an isolated incident, it does bring into question the security practices of nursing homes. Barry Cunningham has more.
55-year-old Harold Green was arrested in Hempstead, Long Island on charges that he opened fire inside a Queens nursing home Sunday, shooting his 81-year-old mother to death and murdering his half-sister. Neighbors say Green had been drinking heavily lately and complaining that his half-sister was stealing his mother's money.
The truth about what happened is yet to be found, but it shall be.
He was in possession of a loaded automatic weapon, fully loaded 6 rounds, similar to the gun that was used to shoot his mother and his half-sister.
Police say Green entered the Highland Care Center the same way we did today, simply by walking in the front door. Law enforcement sources say the nursing home got a protection order against Green after he was arrested for breaking a window at the reception desk 2 years ago. The Highland Center director says strict security isn't possible in nursing homes.
Should there be tighter security? And I'm not even sure how much tighter security there can be. Can you put a metal detector and you have 250 people walking in every day as employees? To get into the nursing home, one must go through a buzzer system on doors, must sign in and get a pass, a numbered pass. And we spend an awful lot of time encouraging patients to have visitors to visit the patients on a regular basis.
The Nursing Home Community Coalition of New York State says the double homicide was an isolated case, that oppressive security defeats the purpose of any nursing home, which is to encourage visitors.
I would hate to have people jump to different conclusions from this one incident that we now should have metal detectors and frisk people. Anything that would talk to frisking people and making it more like a fortress would make this more and more like a prison.
Healthcare professionals say it's important to maintain a home environment because a nursing home is, after all, a home. In fact, authorities say if the crime hadn't happened here, it would probably have happened at the woman's home. At the Highland Care Center, Barry Cunningham, Channel 11, News at 10.
The courtroom custody fight between Woody Allen and Mia Farrow went another round today. This with testimony from a city caseworker assigned to investigate sex abuse charges against Allen. The witness said Allen refused to discuss where he was or what he was doing for a period of time, that on the day he allegedly sexually abused his 7-year-old adopted daughter, Dylan. Paul Williams testified that during a meeting with Allen last August, the movie director said the allegation was not true and that he was not abusing Dylan or any of his other children. Williams has reportedly claimed top city officials tried to stop his investigation. He was suspended from the Child Welfare Agency for allegedly leaking confidential information about the case. Williams says he was reinstated to his job today.
Well, the presses may be rolling, but the future of the New York Post remains in question tonight as major labor problems continue to plague that paper. Our Ed Miller is at the Post right now with the very latest on this story for us. Ed.
Kaity, the New York Post will continue to trumpet the news in its own unique fashion, uninterrupted at least for the next 2 weeks. But clearly the future of the nation's oldest daily newspaper lies in the fact that Rupert Murdoch is openly telling people that he will not save this paper unless he can print it with a lot fewer workers.
The Pressmen's Union and New York Post management met for more than 2 hours this afternoon, but are still not able to resolve labor troubles at the paper. Those problems seemed to climax early Saturday morning when someone set fire to one of the paper's 4 presses. That press was partially repaired to help publish today's edition, but damage to angry pressmen not so easily repaired. Friday's paper never got published because pressmen claim managers demanded too much work from too few people. But unless union workers are willing to increase their workloads, everyone at the Post may be thumbing through the help wanted ads. Rupert Murdoch is operating the Post for 2 months while he tries to work out a purchase plan. But he says he must have agreement with the pressmen and all the other unions before he really does sign on the dotted line.
They want to run the paper with fewer people, not just print it, write it, edit it, deliver it, you know.
And the pressman's position on that is one thing.
We're flexible and we'll talk to them. Yeah.
So by no means the pressmen are going to say, that's it, we've got a contract, we've done it this way before with this number of people, that you're saying that you may very well be willing to do it with fewer.
We're willing to talk to them about anything they want to raise.
All of the union contracts with the Post have expired, so it's not just the pressmen who will need to hammer out new agreements, but everyone else as well. Pressmen will, however, meet with Post management again on May 5th. Live in Lower Manhattan, I'm Ed Miller. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Ed. The state of siege is lifted and Los Angeles remains calm in the wake of the Rodney King verdicts. The 7,700-member LA Police Department has been taken off tactical alert. The National Guard has been ordered to stand down. The LAPD reports no verdict-related violence or crime since the jury handed up its decision on Saturday, finding 2 officers guilty of violating Rodney King's civil rights and acquitting 2 others.
Despite the peace that's followed the Rodney King verdicts, African Americans say the American justice system is biased against them. A USA Today poll shows that 68% of blacks feel the system is biased. 60% of whites, on the other hand, say the justice system is fair. Only a third of blacks polled feel the verdicts, 2 convictions and 2 acquittals, are fair. 54% of whites say the jury was correct.
Well, Jerry's here now to give us a preview of sports coming up.
Yes, despite the fact that the Yanks and Mets are off today, there was baseball this afternoon at Fenway. Highlights of the rampaging Red Sox. Plus, where is Joe Montana going? I don't know, but he's got me confused. We'll give you the latest.
Changing by the day. And we have lots more ahead for you. We'll go back live to Waco, Texas for the latest on the raging fire at the Koresh compound, where scores are feared dead.
Plus, New York officials are outraged at how a man who ran down an 8-year-old boy last week was allowed on the road. His license was suspended 46 times. We'll have the latest.
And while some people have spring on their minds, not everyone wants to give up on winter, believe it or not.
Ready? Ready!
Hide the women and children.
They've invaded!
Because this town's gonna shake, rattle, and roll.
Daddy!
When these kids got loose.
Baby!
And open a rock and roll resort.
Let's party!
With music by Phil Collins, the Rolling Stones, and featuring Oscar winner Marissa Tomei. Playing for keeps. Tomorrow at 8 on Channel 11, New York's movie station.
Breakthroughs in technology have made it possible for automotive designers to create for the driver one of the safest environments ever. At Eagle, we've taken that technology and moved it a little to the right. Introducing Vision from Eagle with standard drivers and passenger side airbags. See one today at your Jeep and Eagle dealer.
See your tri-state Jeep and Eagle dealer.
It doesn't matter how much money a bank has. Ask for a business loan and you could hit a brick wall. One New Jersey bank, however, has the commitment and power to break down barriers for business. Who's out there today? Who'll be out there tomorrow? Making business loans? Who else but United Jersey, the fast-moving bank.
Even if you weren't, at this exact moment, thinking about the luxurious feel of hand-selected leather, the safety of standard drivers and passenger side airbags, or the security of anti-lock brakes, we certainly feel confident that this will start the alloy wheels turning in your head. The Acura Legend Sedan Luxury Lease Program. Available exclusively at your Tri-State Acura dealer.
We told you earlier in our show about the tragic and fiery close to the cult standoff in Waco, Texas. We now go back to Texas for a live update on the situation from reporter Charles Ziwi. Charles, thank you for being with us. Considering what we know of Koresh, was this mass suicide outcome a surprise? Should they have been prepared for this?
Well, Marvin and Kaity, that's the big question. Of course, the FBI from the very beginning here, and I think a lot of the reporters who covered this were instantly aware of the Jonestown comparison here, so I think that's something they worried about. But the FBI repeatedly asked Koresh and his first lieutenant Steve Schneider about that, and they repeatedly denied that they were planning a suicide. So I suppose they had been told, but I suppose the FBI had been led to believe that that wasn't going to happen. And again, FBI's Bob Riggs said today that was one more lie that David Koresh told.
So much of this apocalyptic talk, Charles, but there were no fire equipment. There was no fire equipment nearby. Was that a tactical error that they made?
I'm sure they're going to be second-guessed about that, Marvin, but the fact of the matter is there's not a lot of fire equipment available here. This has been going on for 8 weeks in this little town, and the FBI, frankly, apparently did not expect them to set fire to the place, although Koresh said last week to FBI negotiators that if they tried to rush the place, that the FBI agents would be consumed by fire. But you have to remember that this is the guy who said snakes would be crawling down the ditches here, the earth would be opening up and swallowing up the agents, and the sky would turn fiery red, and the four horsemen of the apocalypse would come riding down the road. So this was another one of the things that Koresh was saying, and they didn't necessarily take it seriously.
Charles, what's next? How soon before they go into the compound to try to recover the bodies and to make certain, if they possibly can, that David Koresh was among the dead?
Well, they're doing that right now, Kaity. Their forensics teams are at work, and they've been at work since the fire cooled down enough for them to get inside and start identifying bodies. We understand they have removed the remains of a number of cultists, but here's the problem. That fire was so intense and so fierce that it may have consumed many of the remains of the cultists. That means we may never know exact identities of a number of them, and that may include Koresh. He is thought to be among the dead, but his remains have not been positively identified. If they have, we have not yet been told.
Okay, Charles Ziwi, thank you very much. And I should note that the FBI disaster team is moving in to help identify those victims through dental records. Two heads of state and Vice President Gore marked the 50th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. Polish President Lech Wałęsa was joined by Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, the first Israeli Prime Minister to visit Poland. Vice President Gore represented the United States, and Jews from all over the world gathered to commemorate the struggle against all odds by a relatively small number of Jews in the ghetto. Using few, simple weapons, they held off the Nazis for an entire month. Today, the leaders laid wreaths at Warsaw's Tomb of the Unknown Soldier as yet another symbol that the world should never forget.
And the ghetto uprising and the Holocaust remembrance observed here in our area near the United Nations. The Anti-Defamation League, along with several other organizations, organizing a gathering which featured personal reminiscences from Holocaust survivors. Yeshiva high school students also read from Holocaust writings.
Freedom by Christmas. That's what Sammy Bulgravano told a courtroom he hopes his testimony at 3 recent mob trials will bring him. It was round 2 of cross-examination between former John Gotti defense attorney Bruce Cutler and the man whose testimony helped convict Gotti. Cutler tried to convince the jury that Gravano would say anything to persuade a judge to free him at sentencing later this year for racketeering. He could get up to 20 years in prison. The testimony came in the racketeering and murder trial of Giovanni and Giuseppe Gambino.
Okay, for a look at the weather, a little quick look. Linda's here.
Kind of a sneak peek, Kaity. How about the weather this afternoon? Can't get too much better. 79 degrees, the high temperature in Central Park. Was it a record? No. How warm will it be tomorrow? I'll let you know. Stay tuned.
Okay, thanks, Linda. When we come back, New Jersey's richest and most famous homeless person is getting ready to throw his hat into the political ring. He wants to run for mayor.
Plus, desperate evacuations continue in war-torn Bosnia as the race is on to save hundreds of lives. We'll have the latest. And an important announcement in our city today about the health of our children, a free immunization program for preschoolers. That and much more coming up.
Vaccinations for up to 10,000 children at 50.
Channel 11, WPIX New York, a Tribune Broadcasting station.
If you're planning to fly from over here to over there, then you should know that only one airline flies you non-stop to the most cities from over here to over there. And since that one and only airline is Delta, you know you'll be getting the warmest, most personal service in the sky on your way over there. Delta, we love to fly, and it shows the world over.
This boy's life. Newsweek calls it moving, smart, made with passion. New York Magazine declares it extraordinary, a haunting and beautifully made film. The Los Angeles Times says the ensemble work of Barkin, DiCaprio, and De Niro is hypnotic. And Siskel and Ebert give This Boy's Life 2 thumbs up.
That's what I like to hear.
Robert De Niro, Ellen Barkin, This Boy's Life. Rated R. Starts Friday, April 23rd at a theater near you.
The event you're about to witness will truly amaze you. On a night Susan Todd would never forget, she discovered amazing savings, where she found the Mazda 626 with more interior room and a better basic warranty than Altima and Accord for just $199 a month with $1,100 down during amazing savings now, where amazing value can easily happen to you. Mazda, it just feels right.
Meet Tom and Steve. Tom got a PhD in quantum physics. Steve didn't. Tom could explain complex formulas. Steve couldn't. But Tom didn't know term life insurance from a term paper. Steve did. He bought Savings Bank life insurance from his community savings bank. At age 30, Steve's first-year premium was just $89 for $100,000 of SBLI. Now that's smart. SBLI, the smart way to buy life insurance. Call 1-800-GET-SBLI.
Not rice and shrimp. Risotto e gamberetti risola, made better by Bertolli. Not cornmeal toast. Crostini di polenta, made better by Bertolli. Only Bertolli, Italy's best-loved olive oil, brings out the true flavor of foods this delicious and this good for you, as olive oil has no cholesterol. If you want it to be better, it better be Bertolli.
Free immunizations will now be available for 10,000 preschoolers. All this thanks to the health insurance plan of Greater New York. The president of HIP announcing the new initiative at a press conference attended by Health and Human Services Secretary Donna Shalala, Mayor Dinkins, and Mrs. Cuomo. HIP will provide the free immunizations during the last week of each month for the next 4 months for all kids, not just HIP members. HIP Operation Immunization is being hailed as a model for other insurance carriers.
Applaud HIP for making a major voluntary commitment to saving children's lives. This is the kind of leadership, the kind of extraordinary leadership from the health community that we need to wipe out infectious diseases.
Children can start getting their free shots on April 26th. Parents who want information on where to go can call 800-HIP-9746. Kaity.
Well, here's a startling revelation about how the bureaucracy works or does not work in New York City. A Brooklyn man is free on bail tonight, admitting he ran down an 8-year-old boy and fled the scene. The incredible thing is he was driving with a suspended license, suspended on more than 40 different occasions. Sheila Steinbeck unravels this story.
He shouldn't have a license at all. His license should be revoked.
That's the general sentiment here at the Department of Motor Vehicles in Brooklyn while people lined up to do business. As word spreads that Mordecai Levy was driving with more than 40 suspensions on his license, there is disbelief.
When people are stopped 1, 2, or 3 times, I think there should be some kind of criminal punishment.
Levy's situation came to light because he was behind the wheel when 8-year-old David Medina was struck. Police call that accident Friday a hit and run because Levy fled. Medina tonight is in intensive care. Once the 23-year-old Levy turned himself in, police discovered the 41 suspensions on his driver's license.
DMV suspends the license of the driver who does not answer the ticket.
But you don't tell anybody but the driver.
We send a notice to the driver. The information is available to all law enforcement agencies. They have access to our computer.
It appears that Levy chose to ignore his 41-plus suspensions. They stretch 5 feet in length on paper. It was up to police to catch him. Many New Yorkers may be guessing that they too could be like Mordecai Levy and ignore all summonses. But all it would take is one law enforcement agent to stop you and check your license, and you could be immediately thrown into jail. But Mordecai Levy guessed 40+ times that this would not happen, and for the most part, he was right. New York police stop motorists and check their licenses under these special circumstances. An accident involving death or physical injury. An accident when a pedestrian is hit by a vehicle. A motorist missing a significant piece of information like a driver's license or registration. In fact, the DMV only alerts police to special cases of motorists with 100 or more suspensions. Mordecai Levy tonight was not available for comment. Sheila Steinbach, Channel 11 News at 10.
And still coming up tonight, he's back. The most famous homeless man in New Jersey, Richard Krymer, says he's all set to run for mayor, only in America.
And the curtain goes up on a very big trial on Long Island, the corruption trial of Senator Al DeAmato's brother, charged with illegal lobbying. Coming up.
The event you're about to witness will truly amaze you. On a night Susan Todd would never forget, she discovered amazing savings, where she found the Mazda 626 with more interior room and a better basic warranty than Altima and Accord for just $199 a month with $1,100 down during amazing savings now, where amazing value can easily happen to you. Mazda, it just feels right.
Retirement home. It's a leisure village.
One free 10-minute call to anyone every month for the rest of the year.
There are lots of people here. I just have to meet them, that's all.
Just think of all the calls you can make.
Well, it's just a friendly game of dominoes.
It's MCI's gift to all friends and family members, even those who join now.
Al, would you believe this? I'm dating.
Simply tell us who you'd like to call free. You can call anyone, anywhere.
Maybe there's an island for you. An island so unique even the trees bend to your wishes. Where people smile before they say hello. You may not feel the drop of rain, but you'll walk on water. Maybe you'll just hang around doing nothing. Or maybe not. Whose island is this anyway? Aruba, an island all your own.
Hey, I used to look like you. But the latest equipment, personal trainer, make you more of a man. See, I had a brother that used to flick me, be right here, ouch, you know. And anyway, we have a free trial offer. We got a deal?
The 9X Yellow Pages. It's surprising what the ads can tell you.
This book I could rip in half.
Thanks to Smart Rate from the Discover card, interest charges now have a whole new bottom line. Smart Rate, currently as low as 14.9%. It pays to Discover.
What makes the Budget Gourmet entrees so different?
Things that make you go.
It's a bold splash, a sweet sauté. It's more than you'd expect for less than you'd expect. It's budget, it's gourmet, it's both.
UN choppers have finished airlifting hundreds of wounded Muslims from the besieged city of Srebrenica. The ceasefire held for one more day. 350 more sick and wounded carried to the relative safety of Tuzla. This latest truce also calls for Muslim defenders of Srebrenica to turn over their weapons to the United Nations by Wednesday. United Nations commanders doubt that that deadline will be met. Jury selection in the federal trial of Armand DeAmato is underway. Long Island correspondent Drew Scott on the brother of Senator Alphonse DeAmato on trial for allegedly using big-time influence to gain big-time defense contracts.
Armand DeAmato is accused of using his brother's powerful influence in the U.S. Senate and at the Pentagon to win contracts for the Long Island defense contractor Unisys, formerly known as Sperry. Federal prosecutors charged DeAmato made over $120,000 in fees secretly paid to his Mineola law firm between 1984 and 1988. DeAmato brought along his parents for moral support.
I don't worry about the sunshine or whatnot. I just know that Armand is doing well. He'll be fine.
Innocence always prevails. It's like a type of truth, but it's the real truth.
This is the defense system DeAmato sent letters signed by the senator to Navy admirals asking for their support in winning the contract. Many Navy admirals now admit the system was obsolete from the start. The Mk-92 and Aegis fire control and radar detection systems were planned in the 1980s Reagan defense buildup. In 1991, Senator DeAmato was cleared of wrongdoing involving his brother, but was chastised by the Senate Ethics Committee for conducting advocacy of the Navy defense system in an improper and inappropriate manner. DeAmato, a wealthy Nassau County attorney and former village official, denies any wrongdoing.
Oh, yeah, I feel good. Yeah, I feel good. I have peace. I really feel confident. We should be okay.
Jury selection began this afternoon in Judge Jacob Mischler's court from a pool of 127 potential jurors by the defense team. Working in shirt sleeves, attorney Stephen Scaring asked questions such as, have you ever contributed to a political party? Have you ever worked for a defense contractor? The high-profile trial is expected to last several weeks. DeAmato's indictment is part of Operation Ill Wind, the defense scandal that has already seen convictions of 50 individuals and defense contractors. If convicted, DeAmato faces 5 years in jail and fines of up to $250,000. From Long Island, Drew Scott, Channel 11 News at 10.
He has listed his address as a public park in Morristown, New Jersey, and now Richard Kramer is running for mayor. While many might say a homeless man simply doesn't have a chance of winning, Kramer does seem to have a knack for stirring up the system. Veronica Mitchell has the details.
There are approximately 16,500 people in Morristown. Personally, I would vote for every single one of them before I would vote for Richard Kramer.
He is Morristown's most famous homeless person, but is there a chance of Richard Kramer becoming Mayor Kramer? The man some Morristown residents describe as a thorn in their sides filed the necessary papers allowing him to run as an independent candidate in the November mayoral race. Candidate Kramer could not be reached for comment today, but Morristown's mayor calls Kramer's campaign a bad joke.
I think that Mr. Kramer loves publicity. I believe, in my opinion, he lives for publicity. In my opinion, his end-all almost for being in this life is publicity. And that's what he's out to get, as far as I'm concerned.
Richard Kramer gained national attention by suing the Morristown Library for ejecting him because library officials say he smells. He won over $200,000 in civil rights settlements. Calling this Morristown Park his legal residence, Richard Kramer is now a legal registered voter. His petitions contain 106 signatures, 40 more than he needs to run.
What's wrong with a homeless guy running? He's a man like everybody else. He has his rights.
While some of Kramer's neighbors are amused by his ability to consistently shake up the system, others say his notoriety excludes him from serious consideration.
Definitely. I think anybody that runs for a major office in this part of the country should at least be able to maintain a household.
I really don't think that he has anything to contribute to this town. If he did, he'd be contributing right now.
You think a homeless person could be mayor?
It depends on the person. I don't think Richard Kramer would make a good mayor. He's too antagonistic and alienates people.
Because Richard Kramer is running as an independent, he will not be allowed to run in the primaries, but his name will appear on the November ballot. Morristown residents have until Wednesday to try and oppose his petition. In Morristown, I'm Veronica Mitchell, Channel 11 News at 10.
All right, lots more ahead on the News at 10. You're not going to believe this. The battle over Don Calhoun's amazing $1 million shot. Now some people are trying to make sure he doesn't get a penny of his prize.
And it's an annual rite of spring, the Boston Marathon, and they had picture-perfect weather. We'll take you there when we come back.
Shell Gas presents the Home Team Sports Calendar. Tuesday night at 7:30, the San Francisco Giants hit town for a 3-game series against the Mets at Shea Stadium, ending Thursday. Thursday is playoff night in hockey when the Washington Capitals meet the Islanders at Nassau Coliseum. The Devils face off against the Pittsburgh Penguins at the Meadowlands. Friday, the Nets battle the Orlando Magic at 7:30 at the Meadowlands. Saturday is Game 2 of the Mets versus the San Diego Padres series, a 1:30 start. The season ends Sunday when the Knicks meet the Chicago Bulls head-on at 1 o'clock at the Garden. This Home Team Sports Calendar was brought to you by Shell Gas.
How much gasoline does your car waste? Dirty intake valves and fuel injectors can hurt your car's fuel economy. Over the average life of a car, that's precious gallons of wasted gasoline. But now there's new Formula Shell. All 3 grades reduce harmful engine deposits other gasolines can leave behind to help your car and your budget run at peak efficiency. Formula Shell. The cleanest reason yet to go with the world's best-selling gasoline. Shell, miles ahead.
It was a fishing trip that began 35 years ago. Back then, he couldn't really imagine retiring. And yet, he began building, long-term, with Kemper Mutual Funds. Investing with Kemper is an opportunity to have something worth passing down to the next generation.
Let's give him a chance to grow.
Okay, Grandpa. We're building tomorrows today.
Kemper Mutual Funds. Ask your financial advisor or call this number.
Why do more people buy Ford trucks than any other? It's simple. Ford trucks are the best selling because they're a great value. Like the Ford F-150. It's the #1 selling full-size, and no truck in its class has a bigger payload. The Ranger is the #1 compact pickup, and it's been redesigned for '93. And the Aerostar is a great value with standard driver's side airbag and room for 7. If it's a new truck you want, buying a Ford is the easiest decision you'll make. See your Ford dealer and see for yourself.
Ooh, take me where there's something special in the air.
American Airlines can take you to more of the Caribbean than anyone. With flyaway vacation packages from $358 to $666. So given all the options, what will it be?
Something special.
American Airlines, something special to the Caribbean.
3 savvy secretaries take insubordination to the top of the corporate ladder.
I'm not going to sit here and take this.
Jane Fonda.
A whole office is out to get him and hunt him down.
Lily Tomlin.
Oh, crazy am I? They never found Jimmy Hoffa.
Dolly Parton and Dabney Coleman.
I'm a married woman.
And I'm a married man. That's what makes it so perfect.
In the Pink Collar Comedy, 9 to 5.
Wednesday at 8 on Channel 11, New York's movie station.
Well, the weather doesn't get too much better than this. We had beautiful sunny skies this afternoon, temperatures holding in the 70s. Now we have mostly clear skies in Central Park, 67 degrees, spring blooming all across the area. The relative humidity at 40%, winds are out of the south at 9. The barometric pressure is rising. And with those southerly breezes, that's why it's quite a bit cooler out along Long Island, bringing in the colder air from the Atlantic. 56 for Islip, 52 now in the Hamptons. But other than that, it's fantastic across the area. High temperatures today, no, we did not set any records. The record for Central Park is 92 degrees, and that has held since 1976. But we were 17 degrees above normal for a high temperature of 79 this afternoon. Just 59 out in the Hamptons, but other than that, great. 72 for Poughkeepsie, 74 Morristown, 73 Trenton, and 74 in Atlantic City. And we are on a roll. Yes, we have one more day of some great weather ahead. Slight chance of a shower tomorrow, but other than that, we'll have those warm temperatures across the area. Satellite picture, mostly cloudy skies sitting to the west of us. Major storm system right now is trying to push its way into Chicago. That's where the center of that low is located. Strong, severe thunderstorms all the way down into Texas. And believe it or not, some winter-like weather behind this system. Our temperature drops quite a bit as this front moves through. That'll be towards the end of the week when highs are just in the 50s. So really enjoy the next couple of days because temperatures do start to get back to normal as the week progresses. There's the low pressure system right now. High pressure is dominating, southerly breezes across the area. For tomorrow, that storm system moves closer towards us. As it does, we'll have more in the way of clouds and a slight chance of some scattered showers, but a pretty nice day with high temperatures once again into the upper 70s here in the city. Great day. Drive time, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Temperature in Central Park, 53 degrees. Low 50s out on Long Island, upper 40s north and west of the city. For tomorrow afternoon, look for mostly sunny skies across the area, about a 30% chance of some scattered showers, so bring the umbrella along with you. High temperature of 77 degrees in the city, quite a bit cooler still out on Long Island. 77 for Poughkeepsie and 77 in Morristown, 78 tomorrow afternoon for Trenton, and 77 also in Atlantic City. 5 days. I mentioned the drop-off. There it is on Thursday with some scattered showers, high temperature of just 58 degrees. But until then, for Wednesday, look for the rain. Thursday, there's the temperature drop. Friday, partly cloudy, 60. Saturday, partly cloudy, 62. Tomorrow is still fantastic. When you get up to 77 degrees in April,
how can you
in the
go
city,
wrong?
Absolutely. Did you guys have a good time?
Oh, the best. Love it.
Hard to come inside.
Yeah. You said it. Thank you, Linda. Don Calhoun, you remember him. Well, he will apparently get his $1 million, but oh, is he getting it the hard way? First, did you know he had to sink this amazing basket during a Bulls game at Chicago Stadium last week? Seemed like the $1 million was in the bag. But then the insurance company, American Hole-in-One of Georgia, that's the name of this insurance company, that put up the money for the event, is balking at paying him because he signed a release saying he never played college basketball when